This episode is sponsored by the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Rounding out entertainment for September, don't miss the Bare Naked Ladies on the 28th. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Get ready for the return of Emerson, Lake and Palmer tour at Maryland Hall in Annapolis, Maryland this Thursday night. I spoke to Carl Palmer, the last surviving member of the original supergroup, about using modern technology to reunite with his late bandmates Keith Emerson and Greg Lake. He also provides a deep dive into hit songs like Lucky Man, From the Beginning, Fanfare for the Common Man, and Peter Gunn, as well as the potential of an upcoming sci-fi thriller film based on ELP's Brain Salad Surgery.
Hello.
Hey, Carl Palmer. Hey, thank you so much for joining us.
You're more than welcome.
We are talking to the legendary Carl Palmer of the iconic progressive rock band Emerson, Lake and Palmer, which is going to be bringing its big, return tour to Maryland Hall in Annapolis, Maryland on Thursday, September 26th. Now, of course, the last surviving original member of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, we lost Keith Emerson and Greg Lake, both in 2016, I believe. So tell me about how you are carrying on the name. This is not just Carl Palmer solo, baby. This is the return of Emerson, Lake and Palmer tour. So tell me about how you're bringing it to life with modern technology. That's so cool.
Okay. All right. I'll paint a visual picture. So what we've got is a show that lasts approximately an hour, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And in that show, you actually see Greg Lake and Keith Emerson performing live with me on stage. Obviously, they're both on film. And the footage that's being used of Keith, of Greg, is from the Royal Albert Hall. And I've managed to edit myself out of any footage that you see. And when you do see me, it's me in the moment, in that particular theatre, and I'm projected onto a separate screen. And the three of us end up playing about 6 or 7 pieces together, anything from Knife Edge to Welcome Back, to Rondo, to From the Beginning, you name it. And integrated into that is the band that I carry, which is Paul Bielatovich on lead guitar and Simon Fitzpatrick on the bass and Chapman stick. We also play some classic pieces by Emerson, Lake and Palmer as a 3-piece band without Greg and Keith like Tarkas. But then you've got this synergy where suddenly we'll be playing Knife Edge and it's Keith Emerson on the keyboards, Greg Lake singing, and I'm playing along with him. So basically, this isn't a hologram. It's real footage from the Royal Albert Hall, which has been edited into the show. And one of the things which is kind of unique to the situation here is that the actual keyboards, drums, the keyboards and guitar, voice, bass guitar are all being mixed for that particular hall. The reason why I can actually do this is because the audio lines at the Royal Albert Hall, when the video was recorded, were recorded separately to the imagery. So I can remix Emerson, Lake and Palmer every night in whatever hall we're in. That's the basic outline of what the show is.
That is awesome. This is so cool. I mean, so folks, you're hearing this. This is the closest thing you are going to get to seeing the 3 original guys, along with the new band members, obviously, who are kicking ass, I'm sure. But it's the closest you're going to get to do it with the wonder of modern technology. And I don't envy the logistics and the legal rights with the families and getting their blessing. I'm sure this is a monumental effort. So this is so cool. You're bringing it to Annapolis. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just as a matter of interest, so you understand, the families, the Emersons and the Lakes are totally behind the project. And at the bottom line, I would say to you that this is something that Greg and Keith would have really enjoyed because it is them. They're not holograms. It's actually them. So all in all, it's a bit of a love story. It all works. And we're all very, very pleased. And the quality is high. It's not IMAX, but it's pretty good with the AI programs we've got to take away some of the graininess, or some of the, trying to improve it in whatever way we could or can, which we're still doing. So I'm happy with it, that's for sure.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, honestly, on the part of the families, I mean, why wouldn't they want? You know what I mean? Like their beloved late family members get to live on in their iconic supergroup, and why wouldn't you? That's
Yeah,
so cool
I
to
agree.
me. They're eternal now.
I agree totally.
Eternal.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and
That's
not only that, but I think this is the way that our business will eventually go.
yeah.
I mean, I do plan on looking further down the line to bands like Asia that I was in.
Yeah.
And, I haven't done anything or spoke to the families about anything at all. But, I might be able to bring back, Asia in a similar way, with
Sure.
members that are no longer with us. As I say, I think this is the future, and it's just great that ELP were on the front line of this new progressive movement, which will take place due to technology. So all good. So next question. Sorry, I
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
interrupting.
no, it's awesome. No, I wanted to spend time on that at the top. That's great. Yeah, so yeah, progressive rock band and now progressive tech. You're always on the vanguard. I love it. That's great. All right, well, let's. I would love to remind folks how you met the guys originally. I know you were born in England in 1950, so you grew up in like post-war, rock and roll was birthed like in your youth, like you were there for all of that. So how did you actually meet Keith Emerson? He was in The Nice, Greg Lake was in King Crimson, and you were in Atomic Rooster, right? So how the idea of let's do a supergroup happen in 1970 there?
How did it happen? Okay, so let me
The
just say
question you've been asked 20 million times.
yeah, and it's been printed so many times. But if you want it for your listeners, basically, I was contacted by Keith Emerson's manager, Tony Stratton Smith, and that's how it came about because Keith had heard about me and wanted to get hold of me to talk to me, and it was quite a natural thing, really. What the back end story of that, which is even better than that, is I actually met Keith Emerson when I was 17. I was playing on a bill. The Nice were the top of the bill, and I was playing in Fleetwood Mac for one night because Mickey Fleetwood was ill, and I got a call from Peter Green saying, "Would you come and play the night with us, Carl?" And I did, and I met Keith on that night. I was always a Nice fan anyway. Used to watch him play. So at the end of the day, when we got together and ended up forming a band, ELP, there was quite a strong, as I say, back end story to all of this. So that's what happened.
Awesome. Fantastic. Is it true that that Greg Lake wrote, what was he like, maybe 12 or 13 when he wrote Lucky Man off of that first album, the self-titled album in 70?
That's, that's what he told me. It was like 10, 8, 9, 10, 11 when he wrote it. Um, so I just take that for granted. If he said that, that's what happened. He'd had a few drinks at the time when he told me that. So who knows? I can't verify that for you.
So now it's part of lore.
Well, I just think that it's a great song. It's a song that opened the door to radio for us. It's a song that brought us into America, and it's a song which I still play today. So I have to thank him for it, however it came about.
Yeah, I'm sure. Of course. Ooh, what lucky fans we were and are. That's great. Well, yeah, I mean, the reason I ask about some of these hits like Lucky Man, and we can hit a couple more maybe, because I love to sort of, remind some of the songs that they're going to hear here in Annapolis this week. You know what I mean? Like when you play them, I love to hear some of the backstories.
You're going to hear in this particular show, you're going to hear some classics like Welcome Back, My Friends, to the Show That Never Ends, which, a lot of people will know immediately. That was one of our big albums, live albums or whatever. Knife Edge from the first album is in there. We have things like, in actual fact, I mean, these are all with Greg and Keith, these things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And we have Paper Blood, which was one from one of the very last albums we made. Black Moon is From the Beginning, which was one of another single we had out, along with Lucky Man, along with Rondo. And then on top of all of that, we play Tarkus as a band, which is about 15, 16 minutes long. That's not with Greg and Keith, that's with Paul and Simon. So the makeup of the show is pretty intense, really. As I say, it's about an hour, 45 minutes. We play Hoedown from the Trilogy album.
So Hoedown and From the Beginning will both be on there from Trilogy.
Yeah. So, one is with Greg and the other one is with Paul and Simon. So in actual fact, Simon plays on From the Beginning. Get him to play some bass on that. So, I mean, it's quite an immersive show, and it's something which is kind of unique because it's all blended together, crafted in such a way where it all moves very naturally through the repertoire,
Oh yeah, all the big hits and some deep cuts, all from the whole era. It's going to be great. Hey, so I recently read that you were hinting at a possible movie project based on the '73 album Brain Salad Surgery. It's like a
That is
sci-fi
correct.
thriller, Carnival 9. What? Tell us about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, I mean, you've got it all there in one. I mean, we are and have been talking for several years now, probably about 3 years at least, um, with Ted Fields and people. And you know, with when COVID came along, that upset things a little bit. There's a few other contracts which had to be fulfilled before they could get to us, but they actually came to us with the project, with the idea. It's still ongoing. We're still researching it. There are people being brought in to you know, write stories around the lyrics, around the music of the LP. So all in all, that's still underway, but I can't tell you any more because I'm not completely. There's some well-known people who are involved now or prepared to get involved,
Yeah.
and I can't mention their name because nothing's contracted yet. It's ongoing. It's ongoing. These two things seem to take an awful long time,
Yeah.
and I can understand that. At least it's on the table and it's
Yeah.
still being kicked around. So I'm very pleased about that. You know.
Yeah, well, that's just there you go. That's just a teaser. We can't, you know, you stay tuned for that. Watch the big
Yeah. Stay
sci-fi
tuned.
thriller,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
well, it
I
wouldn't be
mean,
the first time that you dominated, you know, you transcended the music realm because, you know, Peter Gunn, your live of that, you know, was one of the bigger, more recognizable songs, and that was Henry Mancini's theme for the TV
yes.
series. By the way, folks, I'm a big movie buff guy. Created by Blake Edwards in '58. So this would have been before Edwards and Mancini did, you know, Moon River, Breakfast at Tiffany's '61, the Pink Panther theme in '63, like all. So that was sort of before that, the Peter Gunn theme with them. But yeah, how did you all, you know, were you a fan of the show at the time? How did you decide to sort of, you know, do your spin on it?
Well, I mean, to tell you the truth, nothing to do with being a fan of the movie or, you know, Henry Mancini for that matter. I mean, it just came up one day. The actual piece that had been written by Henry Mancini was kind of a little different to whatever he'd written before, and it kind of stood out because it was kind of basic. It's a very simple piece to play, and it was very effective. And I think the idea actually came from Keith, if I recall, and he started playing it in rehearsals, and the rest is history. And we went on from there. So I think it was a case of just liking the actual feel of the piece of music, as I said, which is very, very simple. You know, it's not hard to play. It just had the right feeling about it, and it worked immediately with us. So we picked it up, and we used to play it as a band. Actually, we haven't played that one for a long time, but yeah, I enjoy it. It's good.
Absolutely. Well, I know you've been generous with your time, but before we go, like this sparked something for me while we're talking about movie, TV themes, etc. Like, I truly think that a lot of your prog rock, like let's say Fanfare for the Common Man, for instance, like with the synthesizers,
Yes.
obviously adapted from you know, Eric Copeland, the classical stuff. But I think that a lot of like movie themes and compositions, like let's say like a Vince DiCola training montage in like a Rocky 4 in '85, or even like Mannheim Steamroller Christmas albums. That's not a movie, but you know what I mean? Like I feel like a
No.
lot of that music from the '80s, Rocky running the mountain to fight Drago in Rocky 4, like that instrumentation, like I think you all influenced the whole wave of like for like a next decade of music with Fanfare for the Common Man and others. What say you?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's quite possible. I mean, these things can happen and might happen. Who knows? I mean, a lot of the ELP's music was extremely eclectic. A lot of it, you know, was obviously ideal for various, you know, film tracks and things. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, things like Tarkus got picked up in Japan, played by orchestras, classical orchestras, string quartets, and then ended up being used for a Nissan commercial. You know, the actual sort of thing itself. So who knows? I mean, it could have been a video game, Tarkus. I mean, it's all there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff which, I mean, people are still investigating. I mean, the music has definitely got legs because of the variety and how eclectic it is in general. I think that people have been drawn to it, not just the classical input, you know, or the folky or sort of balladeer type thing that Greg brought to the table. Overall, it's impactful. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
See?
I don't know about sort of like what films we've been in and stuff. I know that Asia had a couple of the songs which were put into movie films, clips, whatever. I
Yeah.
think The Matador was one of them. But I mean, ELP's not had an actual song in a film as far as I know. But I know the music has been touted around in various forms, especially from the Brain Salad Surgery album. And who knows? I mean, I think this movie is something which will open up that box, Pandora's box. And I think once we get it going, it'll be quite significant in actual fact to the ELP movement
Yeah.
overall. So just have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, stay tuned for Carnival 9, baby. And just to answer what you said, I believe Spike Lee used Lucky Man, your song Lucky Man in Black Klansman a couple years ago. I think it was in The
Oh,
Simpsons.
did
I
it?
think it
Oh,
has
it's
showed up in
possible.
some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, very, very few, but yeah, I think Spike Lee might have used it. I can't remember now. If
Yeah.
it was, I don't think the whole piece was played. It was a very short segment.
Right, right. Well, before we go, you've mentioned Asia a couple times, and I want to remind folks you've had #1 records with at least 3 different bands. So, Crazy World of Arthur Brown, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, of course, that's your big one we're talking about now, and Asia. To
Yes.
me, man, that's like if that's not Rock and Roll Hall of Fame credentials, I don't like. To me, if this is sports and if you win 3 Super Bowls with 3 different teams, you're a
Yeah,
lock
yeah.
for the Hall of Fame. So what the hell? What do we got to do? What's wrong with them? They should put you in like yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I understand what you're saying completely. I mean, they should have put the band Emerson, Lake and Palmer in collectively.
Yeah.
I agree at some stage. I think, to be honest with you, I'm kind of a little bit against the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame from the point of view that look what you've done, towards the world of music, introducing a lot of people to a lot of different music, but you don't get the opportunity to vote for a band to go in to the
Right.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Very few who have sustained, our careers don't get the chance. Yes, there are a few of
Yeah.
the public which do get to vote, but there's majority of the voting is done by a committee, and I don't like that myself. I never have done. It's
Yeah.
never been an honest approach because basically, I'm here because of people like you and a lot of people who've bought tickets and bought albums over the years, not because of 3 or 4 people sitting around a desk. And if we did go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I mean, the attitude of Greg and Keith at the time was, when they were alive, is that they weren't that bothered. Nobody liked the fact that the people that were sitting at our concerts couldn't vote for us. I mean, that's a terrible situation to be in. If I got it, if they did eventually put us in, which I don't think they would, because I've had this conversation quite a few times, I would end up auctioning it, whatever it was they gave me, and I'd give it to charity and see if we could do some good with the money, because it would mean very little to me, because as far as I'm concerned, do you want to know something? I've been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame all my life because I'm still here working today. And if it wasn't for the American ticket record buying public, I wouldn't be here. And that's the real Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
You are the people's champ, the listeners, and not just popularity, but the artistry too. Like you are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as far as I'm concerned. I'll use whatever tiny influence I have to. I'll keep the drum beat going, but
Oh,
like you're saying, it doesn't really matter. You're already in our book.
yeah,
Hey,
I mean, listen, the fact we're still here, we're here. We're in. I mean, it's it's great you asked that question, and I've given that answer out many, many times because I just feel it's not right the way the actual American public are treated with that. They're told to honor and worship somebody by a committee, and basically it's not right. That's not right.
it's kind of the opposite of rock and roll. But
Yeah, it is
anyway,
really. It is
yeah.
really. Anyway, look, we're through that. We got it.
Yeah, we're through it. Well, just sort of the final seconds, you mentioned you would donate it to charity if it ever happened. So, I want to talk about your charitable work. Don't you do some like where you're basically painting with light, like your artwork, and you use that for charity? Explain.
Yeah, I do. I've been doing it for years. I've sold about 600 canvases over the years. I think we've donated something between $40,000 has gone across. I mean, basically, I've got these drumsticks which have LED lights in the tip of the stick, and There's green, red, yellow, blue, whatever. There's the four colors. And basically, I've set myself up in a dark room, about 12 foot square, one guy with two cameras, different shutter speeds. And he moves around the drum set as I'm playing. I play things like I'll play the Tarkus rhythm, or I'll play the drum pattern to Lucky Man, or I'll do something from Trilogy. And we'll see what it looks like in light, what the actual rhythm looks like in light. And you can capture all the shadows and the reflections as well with the various shutter speeds. And that ends up becoming the piece of art. And what we've done is we've sold these over the years. One might be Tarkus, one might be, as I said, Trilogy or Lucky Man. And we've always donated a percentage of these art sales to a charity. I mean, I could have actually put the artwork up in art shops, but the art shops take a lot of money from you, and it just goes to them. This way I can do them privately in people's homes, which I've done a lot, and I can ask that person, what charity would you like us to dedicate X amount of money to? Do you have a charity that you work with or that you're inclined to be drawn to, and take it from there? So we've been doing that for a long time now, and I did a couple about 2 months ago. So that's something that's been on the table for years.
Wow, that's so altruistic of you and generous. Do you, if you don't mind me asking, and it's okay if you don't want to, but do you know what some of those charities, or at least some of the causes that it has gone towards?
Some of them have been. I've always let the owner of the. I mean, I've got so many people who are on the database that I can call up and say, I'm free. Would you like to hold an art event? This person's probably already bought 2 of my canvases. As I said, I've sold over 600 of them. And I ask them, and they might say to me, hey, listen, we've got a donkey sanctuary, or we've got a children's home that needs the roof repairing, or we've got one to do with the domestic violence that we've always wanted to put something in. I mean, they really vary, from the Cancer Trust of America. They just go everywhere. I never choose. I just say, let's donate, let's to many causes, because everybody needs something. So let's spread it wild and let's spread it wide and get it done. And they choose. And of course, that makes them part of the event. We're in their house anyway. And it's just a lovely way to do it.
Wow, that says so much about not only about your creativity and your versatility across different mediums, but your heart and your you know what I mean, like your charitable spirit that rather than putting these up at a museum, wait for the pun, ready? Rather than just pictures at an exhibition, they are actually going to help causes. So that's great. That's so awesome, man.
Yeah, well, it's much better. Look, I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I did try selling art in a gallery, and yes, and you do sell it. But something, it doesn't actually do any good. Long term, I want people to buy the art because they really like it. If selling that piece of art can actually go somewhere else and really do some good for a charity or something or other, that to me is a double whammy, and it's the best way to do it, rather than putting money into art galleries' pockets, just for hanging it on the wall and doing basically nothing, So, I mean, that's our idea. And as I said, because the database now is so strong, if we wanted to do any tour that we have, this is the first tour that I've not done an art event. We could always get somebody who wants to hold an art event in their house. And we will get 20 people, 10 couples. And somebody always buys something, that's for sure. And it works remarkably well. It's a fresher way of dealing with the art world, which I personally really I endorse, that's for sure.
I love it. See, I don't know if Van Gogh could play the drums. You can do both. I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much. You've been more than generous. You 74 years old and still playing the drums, energetic. I don't know how you do it, man. You're just kicking ass. And now we got this modern technology, technical wizardry with you and ELP back in action, baby. It's called The Return of Emerson, Lake and Palmer Tour. It's coming to Maryland Hall in Annapolis this Thursday, September 26th. So get your tickets now. Carl Palmer, you're a legend, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer in my book. I love it. I appreciate you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for the interview. Appreciate you too. Thank you.
All right. Be well. See ya.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.